Man, the energy in Naptown is through the roof right now, but there's some serious tension building up inside West 56th Street. Anthony Richardson is the name on everybody's lips, and for good reason. The clock is ticking loud for the Indianapolis Colts, and the decisions made in the next few weeks are going to define this franchise for a whole decade. We got massive updates on our franchise QB, a sleeper hit on defense, and some real talk about Chris Ballard's track record. Subscribe now to stay locked in with the Horseshoe, because things are getting real wild. Anthony Richardson is officially at the center of the biggest deadline in Indianapolis right now, as the front office has until the end of April to finalize a critical path for his future development and roster standing. Look, we all know this kid is the ultimate high-ceiling prospect, a total freak of nature with an arm that can touch the clouds and legs that make linebackers look like they're stuck in the mud. But here is the scary part. The window to maximize his rookie contract and solidify the surrounding pieces is narrowing faster than a blitzing safety. Inside the building, there is a massive sense of urgency because the end of April marks a turning point for how the Colts structure their long-term financial commitments and draft strategy around his unique skill set. It is not just about the tape. It is about the health and the long-term projection of a guy who only played a handful of games last year. The brass in Indy is looking at the medical reports and the developmental trajectory with a magnifying glass because they cannot afford to miss. Now think about this. If the Colts do not pull the trigger on certain roster protections or surrounding talent by this deadline, they risk leaving their biggest investment exposed. This is the kind of move casual fans do not understand but wins championships or burns down a regime. Richardson has shown flashes of being a true superstar, the kind of guy who can carry a city on his back, but the uncertainty of his durability has some folks in the circle biting their nails. The plan is to build a fortress around him, but the clock is the real enemy here. Every day that passes without a clear directive on how they are handling this April window adds more pressure to Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. They are betting the house on number 5, and the stakes could not be higher for the 317. But what the Colts are planning to do next with the defensive side of the ball is where things get really interesting, and it involves a name that many experts were sleeping on until right now in the heart of the defense. If you believe Anthony Richardson is the one to bring a ring back to Indy, you better smash that like button and comment AR5 down below right now. Jaylon Carlies is emerging as the secret weapon that could solve the Indianapolis Colts' lingering questions at the linebacker position, and honestly, the buzz coming out of the facility is getting impossible to ignore. This kid is the definition of an underrated solution, a versatile chess piece that fits exactly what the modern NFL demands from a defender in space. We are talking about a player with the length and the range to erase tight ends, and the physicality to stick his nose in the dirt against the run. The Colts have been searching for that specific glue guy who can bridge the gap between the secondary and the front seven, and Jaylon Carlies looks like he was built in a lab for that exact purpose. But it gets worse for opposing offenses because his ability to transition from a safety hybrid role to a true linebacker threat is something the Colts coaching staff is salivating over. People in the industry are starting to realize that while everyone was looking at the flashy first-round picks, Ballard might have found a diamond in the rough here. This is how dynasties are built in the NFL, finding those mid-round or overlooked talents who play with a massive chip on their shoulder. Jaylon Carlies has that Colt-like mentality, high character, high motor, and the kind of closing speed that turns a 5-yard gain into a loss. And here is the scary part for the rest of the AFC South. If he clicks in this system early, the Colts' defense becomes infinitely more flexible. You can't teach the instincts this prospect possesses, and his tape shows a guy who is always around the football. In the meeting rooms, they are already talking about his high football IQ and how quickly he is picking up the defensive schemes. This move is a total steal that the national media isn't talking about enough, but the local fans know that a linebacker with this kind of upside is exactly what this unit needs to reach the next level. This is the kind of savvy scouting that can save a season when injuries pile up. But as much as we love the new blood, we have to address the ghosts of the past, because some recent evaluations are putting the front office under a massive heat lamp. Is Carlies the missing piece for our defense? Tell me what you think of this pick in the comments. I'm reading everything. Chris Ballard is currently facing a harsh spotlight as a new analysis breaks down the absolute worst draft misses during his tenure as the Indianapolis Colts general manager. Look, we all respect the binder, but the reality of the NFL is that you are judged by the talent that stays on the field, and produces. The names being brought back up, like Ben Banogu and Paris Campbell, are serving as painful reminders of what happens when high upside picks don't pan out for the Horseshoe. Ben Banogu was supposed to be the explosive edge rusher that transformed this defense, but he never found his footing, and the lack of production from a second-round investment really hurt the team's depth. Then you look at Paris Campbell, a guy with world-class speed who just could not stay healthy, leaving the Colts receiving core in a constant state of what if. It is tough to stomach because these weren't just reaches. They were picks that the front office truly believed in, yet they resulted in zero long-term impact for the franchise. The analysis also points to Quincy Wilson, a corner who had the size and the pedigree but never adjusted to the pro game in Indy. These misses are the reason why the Colts have often felt like they are just one or two players away from being true contenders. Inside the building, these past failures are being used as a lesson to tighten up the evaluation process, especially when it comes to medical red flags and scheme fit. But it gets worse when you realize how much draft capital was tied up in these selections, while other Pro Bowlers were still on the board. This is the kind of deep dive that makes fans question if the current strategy is actually working, or if we are just spinning our wheels in the mud. Ballard has had his wins, sure, but the volume of high-round misses is becoming a narrative that is hard to shake as we head into another crucial draft cycle. The pressure is on to ensure the next crop of rookies doesn't end up on a worst-of-list 3 years from now. This is a make-or-break moment for the reputation of the Colts' scouting department. But the way these current moves are stacking up, the future might finally be shifting in our favor. When you look at these three stories together, you see a franchise at a massive crossroads. The Indianapolis Colts are balancing the incredible potential of Anthony Richardson against the harsh reality of past draft failures under Chris Ballard. The deadline in April for Richardson isn't just a calendar date, it's a statement of intent. It shows whether the Colts are ready to go all in on their young star by providing him the security and the weapons he needs to thrive. Meanwhile, the emergence of a player like Jaylon Carlies represents the new way. Ballard needs to hit on finding high-value, high-impact players in the middle rounds to offset the sting of previous busts like Banogu or Campbell. The Colts' defense has been missing that specific athletic profile at linebacker for a while, and if Carlies is the real deal, it fixes a major schematic hole. However, the analysis of past draft blunders serves as a warning. The NFL is unforgiving, and the margin for error is razor-thin. If the Colts don't nail this Richardson window, the what-if narrative will haunt the city for years. We are seeing a front office that is trying to evolve, learning from the mistakes of the past while managing the most explosive athlete they've ever had at quarterback. The chemistry between Steichen's system and Ballard's personnel choices is being tested right now. This isn't just about football, it's about the long-term survival of the current regime and the hope of a loyal fan base. At the end of the day, the Indianapolis Colts are playing a high-stakes game of chess where every move could lead to a Super Bowl or a total rebuild. The clock is ticking on Anthony Richardson, the defense is looking for a new identity with Jaylon Carlies, and Chris Ballard is fighting to prove his vision is still the right one for this team. This is the most pivotal off-season in recent memory for Naptown. We've seen the flashes of greatness and we've felt the sting of the misses, but the path forward is clearer than ever. This is not just another draft cycle or another contract deadline. This is the moment the Colts decide if they are going to be AFC South Kings or just another team stuck in the middle of the pack. If you are riding with the Horseshoe through the highs and the lows, you need to stay tuned, because the news coming out of Indy is only going to get faster and more intense. This is how dynasties are built, one tough decision at a time. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and let's get ready for a wild ride. Go Colts!